Hey coders, welcome back to Coding Hub, and today we are diving into a button masterclass where you'll be learning how to create a variety of unique and eye-catching buttons. Whether you are looking to design buttons inspired by popular platforms or add custom style to your UI, this is your go-to guide. Let's get started on mastering the art of button design. So the first thing which you'll be requiring is that you'll be requiring an empty compose activity project. Now, after creating your new empty activity compose project, what you have to do, you have to come down and you have to remove these two functions, which are, the greeting function and the greeting preview function. So remove them. Now also remove this greeting Android call from here. Okay. Now select this package, which is com dot something which you will be having in your particular system. Now right click on this, come to this new, click on this Kotlin class file, select file and name your file. Now you can name anything. Let us consider we name it as, my button. Okay. Now we'll be having this Kotlin file. Now the next thing will be to create a composable function over here. For this, what we can do, we can use the composable annotation and we can say composable. Okay. And after this, we can simply say fun and name your function. So I will be naming it as button example. Okay. After this, close the body of this button example function. Now you have to call this function from this, surface boundary. Now you have to simply say button example. And after this, now the first thing which I will be having over here will be a column. And the reason for using the column is that I want to arrange the button one after another in a vertical fashion. Now for this, we can simply say column. And in this column, we can have a modifier. So we can say modifier, and in this modifier, I'll be using this to fill the maximum size. So it occupies the maximum screen size. So we can simply say modifier dot fill max size. With this, we'll be also, having one more thing, which will be a padding. And let us give a padding of 16 dp. Okay. Now we have to, import this dp. So dp is basically an unit matrix. It is basically represented as density per pixel, and you can read the documentation which I have linked in the description to understand more about dp/sp. Now let us go to the next part. Now the next thing will be that we specify the vertical arrangement. So we can come down and then we can say vertical arrangement, and then we can say arrangement.center, or we can even have one more thing. We can simply say spaced by, and in the spaced by we can basically specify a space by which will be of 25.dp. Now we can come down and it will be saying that it is unreferenced because the s will be smaller, and we'll be having the spaced by. Now what it will be doing is it will be basically creating a space between each of the elements of this column, and the space will be of 25 dp. And the next thing will be to define the alignment. So we can say horizontal alignment, and let us take the alignment center horizontally. Now the next thing which we have to do is that we'll be creating our very first button, and the very first button will be an Amazon sign-in button. For this, what we can do, we can come down after this, button example body close. After this, we'll be having a function which will be basic Amazon sign in, and we can say sign in button. Okay, so it will be an Amazon sign in button. Now we can call this button from here by saying Amazon sign in button. Now we have to make sure this button is a composable. So this function is now a composable function, because the reason is that we'll be having the button inside this particular function. Now the first thing which we'll be using is, we'll be basically using, the button composable. So we can say button, and we can use this button on click which you are seeing. Now in this, we'll be having this on click. Now this on click is basically being used, whenever you want to assign a task, whenever the button is clicked. For now, we are not, concerning on that part. And now we can have multiple things, like we can have a modifier, So we can say modifier, and modifier dot, we can say fill maximum width, and then we can specify a height to it, and the height can be something like 50.dp if you want. Now see, we can also specify the width if we want to, but for now I am keeping it as the maximum width. Now the next thing which I can do is I will be having a padding, and let us provide a padding. I can give a padding of 4 dp maybe. Okay, now the next thing which we have to do, we have to specify the color of this button. Now we can say color, and you will be finding out this button color. So we can say button default. Okay, and in this we can simply say button color. Okay, and in this color we can pass colors, and in this color we can basically pass the value, and the value will be a hex code which is 0. So it will be 0x. Okay, then the alpha value will be ff, and now after this the code is 146. Okay, EB4. So it will be EB4 in capital. Okay, now after this what we have to do, we have to separate it with a comma, and let us define the shape. So we can say shape, and the shape will be basically a rounded corner shape. So we can say rounded corner shape. Now in this we'll be passing the value, we can say 8.dp. Now upon increasing this value over here, which is 8, it will basically increase the roundness of the button. Now we'll be having a text in this button, so we can say text, and let us have a text. The text will be something like sign in with Amazon, something like that. Okay, so I'll be creating this I as a smaller case. Now after this what we can do, we can specify a color to it. So we can say color, and then we can say color dot white. So the color of this text will be white, and then let us also specify the font size. So we can say font size equals 16.sp. Now you have to also import this sp. So we have to come up over here, and then we can simply say so we can come down over here, and we can simply alt enter. Okay, so sp will be also imported. Now in the previous video we have covered the entire text composable. I have shown you how we can import custom fonts from Google Font and use them. So if you want to decorate your text more, you can refer to that video to understand how text composable works and how you can design that. Okay, now after this what we can do, we can come over here, and we have called this Amazon sign in button. So we'll be creating this project, and let us see whether our button was created or not. So we have to wait for some time till this Gradle build is running, and see, we are having this Amazon sign in button over here. Now upon clicking on this, nothing is happening because we haven't defined this on click over here. Okay, so let us move into our very next button, and in the next button we'll be creating the Facebook login button. For this we can come down, and the Facebook login button is somewhere the same thing. So what we can do, we can copy this code. Okay, and we can come down after this, and we can say Facebook login button. Okay, now in this there will be only few things which has to be changed, and the main thing is that we'll be changing this code. Now this code will be basically 3B. Okay, so these are basically the color code. Now 5998. Okay, so we will be having this blue color. Okay, after this we can also change this roundness if you want to see how increasing this will change the entire thing. After this what we can do, we can simply call this Facebook login button from here. So after this we can simply come down, and we can say capital Facebook login button. And now if we recompile the code, and now we'll be finding out this this sign in with Amazon over here. So we have to change the text also. So we can simply say sign in, like we can say login with Facebook. So we can say login with Facebook, and if we decompile this and see, if we are now having this login with Facebook. Now if we try to increase the value over here, if we let us suppose we bring it to 25, you will see the roundness of this button will be more, like, so it is now more rounder as it is in the Facebook login button, right? So we are having this too. Now let us move on and let us create our next button, which will be basically a YouTube subscribe button. Okay, so we'll be having another composable function. So we can say composable, we can say fun, and this function will be for the YouTube subscribe button. And in this button, what we'll be doing will be basically, we are having our button composable. So we can say button. And after this, what we can do, we can have an enter over here, come up over here, have a comma, and then click enter. Now we'll be defining the modifier. So we can say modifier equals modifier. And we'll be having this fill max width. And then we can define the height. So let us consider the height to be 50 dp. And then we can give a padding of, let us suppose 4.dp. Okay. Now the next thing which we have to do is that we have to define the color of this button. So it will be basically red. So we can say colors, and we can say button defaults, button colors. And in this we'll be specifying the color dot, we can say red. Okay. So now it will be, providing us a red background button, which is the thing which we required. Now the next thing will be to define the shape, and we'll be saying circle shape. Now the shape is also defined. Now the next thing will be that we define the icons and all of that asset. So we can say icon. I will use this painter one, and in this we will be having this painter resource, and then we can say r.dribble dot, we'll be using this IC YouTube subscribe. Now you will be having these two files over here. So I will basically link this file in the description. You can download these two files and just paste them in this Dribble folder. For that, what you have to do, you have to copy that in the Explorer, and then just select this Dribble folder and then just press Ctrl V. That's it. Or you can right click and then click on this paste button. Okay. Now after this, what we have to do, you have to basically give a content description. So we can have any description. So let us say we say YouTube subscribe bell. Okay, so it is the description of this item. Now what I can have a comma and then come down. Let us define the modifier. So we can say modifier, and then we'll be using this modifier to define the size of this icon. We can say size, and let us say the size is of 20 dp. Okay, and the next thing will be to define a tint to this, and then we can say tint, and then we can basically say color dot white. Okay. Now after this, we are basically having the icon, and the next thing will be to we'll be requiring a text. So we can come down after this icon, and then we can simply say a text, and this text will be subscribe, right? And in this subscribe, and in this subscribe, what we'll be doing, we'll be basically having a color, and this color will be color dot white. So we are basically specifying the color of the text. So we'll be saying white. And the next thing which we will do is we define a font weight to it. So we can have a font weight of bold, let us suppose. So we say font weight dot bold, right? And the next thing what we can do is we can define the font size. So we can say font size, and let us define the font size to be 16.sp. Okay. So now we are having the text which is subscribe. The color of this text will be white, the font weight will be basically bold, and the font size will be of 16sp, right? Now we can run this. Okay, so we have to also call this function over, over here. So we have to come over here, and then we can say YouTube subscribe button. And now if we rerun this, and see, now we are having this subscribe button. Now there is one more problem. This, the logo and this text are, aligned together. So we need a space in between these two icons. So we can use a spacer for that. So we can come down and let us use a spacer. So we can simply say spacer, and then we can say modifier dot width, and let us provide a width, and this width can be as per your preferences. I will be giving it 20 dp for now. So I can say 20 dp. And now if we rerun this, and now see, we are getting this cool looking subscribe button over here. Okay, So the next thing what we'll be doing is that we'll be creating the Uber, Uber button. For this, it is similar to this YouTube one only. So we have to just copy this out, and we can copy this, come down, and let us rename this YouTube subscribe button with just Uber button, we say. So we can say Uber button, and this color has to become black. So it will be black. This will go, so it will be now IC underscore we can say Uber, and let us rerun this. So we have to also call this Uber function over here. So we have to come over here, and then we have to say Uber button, reapply the changes, and we can reinstall and restart. And see, now we are having this subscribe button, so we have to basically change this. So the main thing over here which we will be wanting is that we'll be wanting something like book a ride, something like that, right? So we can come down and we can change this with something like book ride, and this content description we can also change that. So we were having this content description, and we can say something like Uber logo, right? And let us reapply the changes. And if we do, we can have this book a ride button, right? Now we can also, define the width over here. So if you want to change the width, what you have to do, you have to come up over here, and then instead of this fill max, you can have something like width, and you can define the width. So let us suppose we say 150.dp, and we reapply the changes. See, now we are having this button, right? So it is up to you how you'll be doing this. So we can have 250 instead of that, and we'll be having this book a ride button, right? So it is completely upon us how we want the width to be. For now, I will leave it as it was. So it will be fill max width, okay? And now I will reapply the changes. And now we'll be having the same button, right? Now in the next part, we'll be creating the Google search button. So let us see how we can create the Google search button. So let us minimize this, come down. And now over here, we can have another composable, and we can name the composable as, something like we can say fun Google search. So it will be Google search, right? And then we can have this. And now let us call this Google search from over here. So we can come down, and then we can say Google search, right? Let us come down. Okay, now in this Google search, what we'll be doing will be, using an elevated button. For this, we have to simply say elevated button. Now it is also a button type which is pre-existing, which you can directly use. So the button will be basically elevated. Now the next thing what we have to do will be, having, so we can say modifier equals modifier dot fill max width, and then we can define the height, and the height will be something around, we can let us give it also 50 dp, and then we can also have a padding, and let us define the padding to be 4 dp as we were having for the other buttons. And now we can have a color to this. We can have a comma over here, then we can come down, we can say color, and in this colors what we can do, we can have something else. So we can say button default, and then we can have this button colors. And now in this color you can do more things. You can define the container color, and you can say that the container color will be white. So what we are trying to say is that the button color will be white, but after this we can also define the content color. Now everything inside this, this button will have a different color, and we can say black. So we can say color dot black, let us suppose. So everything in this container, or we can say in this button, will be having a color of black, while the button will be of color of white, right? So we are now not required to, redefine each and every color of the elements. Okay. Now what we can do, we can come down. In this, we'll be requiring an icon, and in this icon, I will be using this image vector one. And in this image vector, I can say icons. And in this icons, what I will be doing, I'll be having this default, and then we can say search. Okay, so we'll be having a search icon, and then we can define the content description and leaving it as empty string. And then we can define the tint, and let us have the tint color to be black. So we can define that too. Now it is up to you if you want to redefine these things, but I am doing it so you can understand. If we don't define the colors like this, then we can also define the icon color like this. Okay, so it will basically give it a tint of black. Okay, now after this, what we'll be doing, we'll be having a spacer. So it will be a spacer, and then we can say modifier dot width. Let us give a width of 20 dp. And the next thing, what I will be having, I will be basically having a text. So I can say text, and then I can say search, right? And in the search, what we can do, we can specify the color, but because we have defined the color already, so we are not needed to do that. But we can define the remaining things like the font weight. So we can say font weight, and let us define the font weight to be bold. So we can say font weight, and we can say bold. And the next thing, what we can do is we can have the font size, and let us define the font size to be like 16 sp. Okay, and now if we reapply the changes, we have to reinstall and restart the app. And now we'll be having this cool looking search button, and you can say this button is being elevated, right, than the other buttons. So if you come down over here, you'll be finding out this button is being elevated, right? Because we are using this elevated button. Now in the next part, what we'll be doing, we'll be creating the Amazon cart button. So let us see how we can create the Amazon cart button. For this, let us minimize this for now. Let us create another composable below this. So we can say composable, and in this composable, we can say one Amazon cart, and in this Amazon cart, what we can do, we have to firstly call this Amazon cart over here after this Google search. So we can come down and we can say Amazon cart, and after this we can come down to this place in this Amazon cart, and we can have another elevated button. So we'll be learning few more things about this elevated button. So we can say enter over here, let us have a comma, and then come down. So in this, we'll be defining the modifier as we have defined in the previous, and we'll be also defining the container color and content color. So what I will be doing, I will be simply copying this out as things are similar. So I'll be having this too, then I'll be just pasting them after this. Okay, now the only thing which I have to change is that I'll be changing this container color. So I will be saying color, okay, and in this color I will be passing the hex code. So it will be 0x, okay, and the alpha value will be FF, and then we'll be having FF9900. Okay, so we'll be having this color. Okay, now after this we'll be having the icon and the text, all of that. So it will be also same. So we can copy that out also. So we can copy this out also, and then we can have something like cart icon over here. Now you can also have a different cart icon which you can download, and then you store it in the drawable and directly invoke that, as we have seen in the upcoming parts. So you can do that also. Now after this, what we'll be doing, we'll be basically changing this text, and we can say something like add to cart, something like that. Okay, and now if we reapply things, and if we now reinstall and restart the app, we'll be getting this button which is add to cart, right? It is also looking cool. So we have till now covered this 6 buttons. Now let us move on and let us create our next button, which will be basically a download button. Okay, so for this we'll be again having a composable function, and in this function we can simply say download button. Okay, and in this download button I will be using a different button type, which is basically an outline button. Now what is an outline button? An outline button is not having a color inside it, but it will be only having an outline towards its boundary. So we can say outline button. Okay, and we are having this outline button. Now after this we can have a comma over here, and now let us define the modifier. So we can say something like modifier, equals modifier. So we can say modifier dot, we can have fill max width. And after this, we can have one more thing, which would be a height. And let us define the height to be 50.tp. And the next thing, what we have to do, we have to define the shape. So we can come down and we can shape equals, let us have the, rounded corner shape. And let us define the corner, it will be 5 dp. Okay. And the next thing we will be doing is, we'll be defining a border. So we can say border, and then we can simply say border stroke. And in this border stroke, I will be defining the border stroke of 1.5 dp. And the next thing will be to define the color, and I can simply say color. And the color will be basically this hex code, which is 0xFF146. Okay, and it will be EB4. So this is the color code. So we'll be getting this color. Okay. Now the next thing, what we have to do, we'll be having a text over here. So we'll be having a text, something like this, and the text will be download. Okay. And after this download, we'll be defining the color, and we can say color, and we can pass this hex code over here again. So we'll be having the same hex code again. We can pass that. And after this, we'll be defining the font size. So we can say font size. Let us give it a font size of 19sp. And then we can have the remaining things like font weight. So we can say font weight dot. So it will be font weight dot bold. And let us also have a letter spacing. So we'll be saying letter spacing, and let us give it a 0.1.em. So it is basically M unit. Okay. So if you will be not getting, this unimported, then you have to import this M unit. Okay. So it is also a unit metric using which we basically, specify the letter spacing, and there are more things to it. Now let us, reapply the changes, and let us see the button. So we have to also call this button. So I will be simply copying this function call, and I will be pasting it over here after this Amazon cart. And now let us reapply the changes. And if we click on this reinstall and restart app, see, now we are having this cool looking download button, where you can also, increase this dp, which was the rounded corner one. So we can also say 25, and this will make it more, beautiful. So it will be a rounded one. See? So now we are having this. And if you, zoom this out, and if we come down, we'll be having this border color, right, which is blue. The next thing which we'll be doing is that we'll be basically focusing on how to create a Neomorph button. For this, what we can do, we can come down, we'll minimize this, and then we can come down, and we can have composable over here. And in this composable, we can write a function which will be Neo Shadow Button. So this will be, it will be basically making you understand two things. The main thing is how to apply shadow to a button. With this, the end result will be a Neomorph button. So after this, what we will be doing, we'll be having a elevated button inside this. So we can use this elevated button. And now after this, we can have a comma over here, and we can click enter. After this, we'll be having a modifier over here. So we can say modifier dot fill max width. And after this, we can basically assign a height to it. So we can give a height like 50 dp, and let us also give a padding, and let us give a padding of 4.dp. Okay. Now after this, what we can have, we can also define a shadow. So we can come down and we can share shadow, and in this shadow, we can define the elevation, and let us say the elevation to be of 6 dp. After this, what we'll be doing, we'll be having a comma. Let us define the shape. So the shape, the shape will be basically of a circle shape. So we can say circle shape. And the next thing which we'll be having over here is the clip element, and we'll be saying clip false. Okay. So now we are basically having that elevated shadow button, which is basically having a shadow, right? And the next thing will be to have a text in this. So we can simply say text, and in this text we can have any text, like we can say Neo Neomorph Button. We can have something like that. And let us give a color to this. So we can say color, and we can say color dot black. So the text color will be black. Now we can also have a font size, and this font size we can give like 18 sp. After this, we can have few more things like a font weight, and we can say font weight bold. So we'll be having a font weight of bold. And the next thing, we can have a letter spacing also. So this letter spacing which I'll be using is also of 0.1 m unit. And now if I try to reapply the changes, let us see what we'll be getting. And now we'll be basically having that button, but for that we have to call this function. So we'll be coming up, and after this download button we can simply paste that, and let us click on this reapply. And now we'll be having this Neomorph button, and you can see there's a shadow to this button, and it is looking awesome. So it is looking cool, right? Now let us focus on the next button. So the next button which we'll be creating is basically a custom button. Now in this button we'll be basically defining the rounded corner shape in a more cool looking way. So let us see how we can do that. So for that we'll be minimizing this thing for now, and let us come down and let us come over here after this, and let us create another composable function. So we can say composable, and now we can have a function, and we can simply say custom button. So in this button what we'll be doing, we'll be basically having a button, and this button will be basically having a on click, right? Now after this what we can do, we can have a comma over here, and let us come down. Let us define the modifier. So we can say modifier equals modifier, and then we can say something like fill max width. Let us define the height, and we'll be defining the height to be 50.tp. And then there are a few more things. So like we can have a padding over here. So let us give a padding, and the padding will be of 4 dp. So after this what we can do, we can define the color. So let us say colors, and we say button default dot we can say something like button colors, and in this we can have something like color, and in this color we can provide a hex code which will be basically 0x, and it will be 0xFF3CB, okay, and then we can have 371. Okay, so this is a green color basically. Now after this what we'll be doing, we'll be basically having the shape, and we can simply say shape, and let us say the shape is rounded corner shape. And here we can say top start, and let us say we say 15.dp, and then we can have bottom end, and let us say 25.dp. Now what we are doing, we are specifying the roundness for this button only to a particular part, and that is that we want it to be at the top start. So it will be at the starting point of this button, and then bottom end, so it will be the end part of the button. So this too will be only that rounded looking. The remaining thing will be as it is. Now we can have a text over here. So we can say a text something like custom button, and let us specify the color. So we can say color, and we can say something like color dot white. And the next thing what we can do, we can define the font size, and let us say font size, and let us say 18.sp, and let us also say font weight, and we can say font weight font weight dot bold. Okay, and now we have to basically provide this function call in the above column. So we can come up, and then after this we can have that. And now if we reapply the changes and reinstall and restart the app, see, now we are having this custom button, and you can see the roundness is for the start and at the bottom end, right? Now you can define the roundness as per you. Now we can also increase the size of this button by increasing the height, we can say. So we can have something like a height of 55 dp, and let us see, is it looking a little bit much better. Okay, so now it is looking much better. Now the next thing and the last thing which we have to create a small round button. For this, we can come after this. Let us minimize this first. And after this, we can have another composable function. So we can say composable, and after this, we can have one. We can have custom small, small, so it will be small round button. Okay. And in this button, we'll be having a button. So we can say a button, and we'll be creating two buttons, right? A button which will be basically, button to add, and a button which will be basically a button to share, right? So we can have a to do over here. Now, after this, what we can do, we can specify a space. So we'll be having a comma over here, and let us enter. So we'll be having this, and then we'll be having a, enter over here after the comma. And now we can say a modifier. And in this modifier, we can say modifier dot, we can say size, and let us specify the size to be 70 dp. Okay. And the next thing will be, we have to define the shape, and we'll be defining the shape to be something like a circle shape. Okay. So the button will be of a circle, and the next thing will be to, provide the content. So we'll be having a, icon over here. So in this image vector, we can say icons dot default dot, we can say something like add. Okay. And in this content description, we can say add button. Okay. And in this, after this, what we can do, we can simply call this custom small rounded button from over here. And now if we, reapply the changes and reinstall and restart the app, now we'll be having this cool looking, plus button, which is basically a rounded button. Now we can also create more rounded buttons. Let us see how we can do that. So we can also create a similar button using elevated button. So we can say elevated button. And after this, what we can do, we can basically, have a comma, and we can come down. So we'll be requiring a comma, and then we can come down. Let us specify the modifier. So we can have a modifier, and then we can say modifier dot, and we can say the size. So let us say the size to be of same. So we can say 70.dp. And after this modifier, we can have few more things. Let us say we also provide a shadow, so it will look much better. So we can say shadow, and let us provide the elevation. So elevation, we can give somewhere around 6 dp, and we can give a shape to this elevation. So we can say circle shape, and we can have a clip, and let us say the clip is false. Okay. Now after this, what we can do, we can define the shape of the button. So we can say shape, and we can say circle shape, right? And after this, we can specify the color, and we can say colors, and then we can say button default, and we can say button colors. And in this button colors, let us specify the container color, container color to be of color dot white, while the content color, we can specify it to be black. So we can say color dot black. Okay. And then in this, we can basically have an icon as we were having for the previous one, and let us say icons dot default dot share. So we can use this share, and we can give a content description. We can say share icon. So it will be basically share icon, right? And now if we reapply the changes, we click on this close app, click on this reinstall and restart, and we'll be having this cool looking, the share button. And we can see this is also a Neomorph button, and it is also looking cool, right? So in this video till now, we have covered a lot of button, and it was a long video. And after this, you will be, able to create any buttons. Even if after this, this video, if you still face any problem in creating any button, then you can comment down, and I will surely reply to your queries. Till then, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you never miss any update from us. This is Coding Hub signing off for this video.